Well, g'day legends for another episode back here for season 3 of the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show. Hey, this season's all about the hero makers. And so we're shifting gears. We're done with just learning tools, and sure, we'll come back to, some conversations around AI and social selling and content marketing and all that. But it's time to go a bit deeper. It's time to focus on the conversation around what really matters, and that's leadership. It's time to go from exploring what it means to lead from identity, not just build businesses, but build movements, to
Yes.
find the voice inside you to help others to raise up. Yeah, hero makers aren't born in the spotlight. They're forged in the trenches of sacrifice, consistency, courage, and love. They make leaders who pass the mic and focus on building legacy. So if you're ready to step up and see beyond the hustle, beyond the noise, beyond just making profit and build something that endures and it comes in for time to go, but you're not here. Welcome, you're exactly where you need to be. And I've gotten to know this gentleman here. He's known as the Hood Motivator, Dr. JayR McIntyre.
Yes,
Gotta love
sir.
dyslexia.
Yeah.
And, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you. We met each other in Atlanta there back in around July this year.
Yeah.
I've been helping you to get your podcast up on the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network. And
Yes.
so we're getting to know each other really, really well. And I think we're going to actually get to meet each other in person coming up in an event in November. So,
Yeah.
Dr. JayR, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you. That was a great introduction. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Massive pleasure. So you're based in Hawaii at the moment, just getting some relaxation time on?
Yeah, on the West Coast. Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll just talk to you before we hit record and
Yeah.
how important it is to actually take some time out for ourselves to recharge so we can give back out of abundance instead of just lack. Hey, I'd love to just dive straight in here and get your insights on this conversation. So why is it important for you to take some time out?
So it's very important, first of all, as as a human beings, to auto correct yourself, and a lot of things that we're learning with systems that we work and troubleshooting. You got to troubleshoot your algorithm of your life. Your life is your algorithm.
Mm,
So if you do not get in front of your ugly, like I always talk about, then you will give a false motivation to the people that are dependent on you, one or 1,000 or 1,000,000. I have a huge platform, so if I go out and pour into the wrong person, or I pour in what I have not fixed yet,
yeah.
I'm going to pretend, I'm going to make that person crash out, because they thinking that I'm saying the right thing. Which I'm saying is, a lot of influencers are influencing our youth and society to do the wrong things. And that's because they're
Yes,
doing
sir.
it for likes and impact. I mean, doing for likes and everything else. I do this for impact. So I have to
Mm,
be able to pour positivity back into myself, fix myself, because I dealt with a lot of mental health issues, leaving the military, a combat veteran, did 3 tours in Iraq. And I had to fix myself. And what's popular now is mental health, right? And everybody's talking about it, but who's doing the work? Who's actually really out
powerful
there
question.
doing the work? Psychiatrists, talking to your therapist. I did ayahuasca. I did equine therapy with the horse. I did a lot of things, modality, that makes me the Hood Motivator right now. So I can't
Mm.
pour to nobody if I don't pour back into myself.
Yeah, that's a powerful observation there. And, someone who grew up with horses actually used to break them in.
Yeah,
And so I understand equine therapy very, very in depth. I didn't realize it at the time. I do now, after all the studying that I've done in this space.
yeah.
But, I was severely bullied as a kid at school. And,
Mm,
and my horses became my best friends. They're really amazing creatures, especially attuned in the emotional state of that, of the being, of the energy, if you know what I mean. Like they sense your energy.
right,
And, so I understand that's a powerful concept.
right.
But, like someone who's, of service all the time, right? Like you give, 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 give. It's very important to take a step back to actually receive and charge up our tank. I like to say to people that we're like our mobile phones. We only work when we're plugged in and charged up. So
Right.
I understand that the need to go away and have some sort of, retreat, if you will. My
You have
friend
to.
Michael Silvers talks about going on silent retreats all the time, unplugging from technology and
Yes.
and just having a space where you can just, debrief and download and go through all of that.
Yes.
So do you have
Absolutely.
any tips for our audience to help them to unplug and well, to unplug from technology, so to speak, but plug back into, their surrounding and their mission and get grounded in that space to get charged back up. So what do you do to help you to do that?
First of all, you got to be intentional about it, right? You can't just say I'm gonna
Mm,
do it and don't do it, right? A lot of people they operate with the phone in their hand, and 90 something percent of people living right now they cannot operate without their phone, right? So, but before the phone and technology, if you tell somebody where to go, how did you get directions? We would pull over to the gas station, get a map, get a compass, put the map on the hood, highlight, and
right.
figure out what route to go to what route. They don't do that now. They go on their phone, put the address into the computer, and that's good because you know what I'm saying we like stuff like that. It saves less time. But also, when the world goes dark, how many of us is gonna really survive? Can we go kill
Mm,
our food? Can we bring it back? Can we cook it? Can we search for it? Can we hunt? Can we think? Can we have generators? All these things. So what I'm saying is basically dial it back down, be intentional. I'm very mysterious and secretive to who I am because if I give the world everything, what do I have, right? And people
yeah.
say some people they don't agree with it because they think they're supposed to know my life. You know on social media what I'm going to give you because it's a magic trick. But my life very personal because if you attack me and my family, I'm trained to do other things in life to protect myself. So I have to bring it back and say, you know what? If I'm going to heal, disconnect from everything. Only you, Jeff, and only a handful of people know my real life and getting to know
Mm,
me, who I am. Because if I give you everything, I have nothing.
yeah. That's a powerful statement there. If I give you everything, I have nothing,
I have
and I
nothing.
have nothing left to offer to give. And,
Right.
and, and as I made a statement before we got on our conversation, even Jesus had to go to up to the top of the mountain to get to get solitude, to get that recharge, to top back up.
Right.
Really, really important lessons there in that conversation. And I love to, like you said, if the world went dark, could you kill for your food? Could you survive without technology? And
Yeah.
that's the thing. And as you said that, I instantly went back to my childhood. I grew up in the bush, so I grew up with learning to hunt
Right.
and with a rifle and a bow and all of that sort of thing. And
Right.
from my early teens to my early adult years, we were basically out in the bush and we ate what we killed in that space. And
Right.
so I think there's some really valuable wisdom in that conversation. And especially I was interviewed the other day on a AI summit for families, and the conversation came up with around, going back to basics, learning how to do things with our hands and our brains without technology,
Mhm.
learning how to get the essential fundamentals, the core things that help us to survive in any human experience,
Right.
and then leveraging technology as a way to amplify and enhance that, not replace that.
Right.
And so, for example, right, I'm actually, you probably don't know this about me, and not many people do because I don't talk about it because it's way back in my past.
Right.
But I'm actually an apprentice cabinet maker.
Okay.
I left school at year nine. All my friends are going through high school while I was learning my trade.
Right.
And my boss at the time, he taught me how to do everything by hand. I wasn't able to pick up a power saw or a nail gun or anything like that until I could use the chisel, until I could use the hand saws and do everything by hand with the dovetail joints and the mortise and tenon joints and all of that, and get it right.
Right.
Like get it smick. And so that was sort of like a dying art at that stage, even when I was doing my apprenticeship 20 years ago. But then when I got to, the basics down and I learned how to walk and I learned how to run and I learned how to fail forward fast in that conversation, technology, and power saw and a nail gun in this case, were able to help me make me more efficient and more empowered. I love
Right.
to unpack your insights from your experience in this space versus learning the fundamentals and learning problem solving and the basics without technology.
Right.
And how do you see like AI and technology playing its role in the future and supporting our people in a way that doesn't become a crutch or a replacement, but it actually becomes a tool to enhance and amplify.
Right. I mean, I think that, as each human being that evolves, you have to know what your gift is, right? That's why my speech is activation of your gift and become your main character. A lot of us,
Mm.
because when we step into rooms, we feel isolated, not to be ourselves. And so many of people are choosing to jump into everybody else's avatar instead of choosing your avatar that God has for you. And the Hood
No, I
Motivator,
love that.
that's why. And that's protecting me. And when I learned in the military, even before the military, how just growing up in Long Beach and Compton, I was just talking to some friends and, as kids walking to school at 7, 8 years old, don't walk against traffic because why? There's gang violence. They might shoot you in the back. So learning all these things as kids of survival, and
Survival things
I
too,
right, and
right?
I heard someone close to us say the other day that JR, people are tired of hearing your survival story, and I'm like, the whole world is in survival mode. Like, if you don't know how to survive, how do you know how to live without, right?
Mm,
So, and if you was given everything, then you don't know how to survive. So I can't relate to you. But my whole life, I've been trying to survive to get to this moment right here. When you found me in Atlanta, you saw the authenticity of who I am, not because of who I was trying to be. You saw it. It was like,
correct.
why is this kid or this person not on such a bigger platform? That's because the world is not ready for that pure. You know what I'm saying? I'm pure. They ready for it to be tainted in a different algorithm, and maybe for me to speak a lot of negative. I don't do that because it's easy to kill, but is it lesser to speak the positivity to people for them to change? Like I said, if it's one person or if it's a million, I'm going to say the same thing. You saw me.
Mm.
My passion is the same around. My algorithm is my algorithm, and I'm not trying to be nobody else's because I have my own wavelength that God made for me.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I was actually put up a post on my Facebook page there the other day, just talking on this conversation. And it starts off from battlefield to the boardroom, faith,
Yes.
fire, and the birth of mindset. Like 17, I started this journey myself, 17 years ago. And that's how long it's taken me to reach this pinnacle and where I am. But, in that journey, right, there's grind, there's scars, there's sleepless nights, there's, tears being held back. I think there's been times I've been in the fetal position because I've just done something crazy,
Right.
but in that as well, when I look back, and looking at the divine thread running through it all, even in the messy middles in that space, it's a reflection of, what it takes to get here.
Right.
And, I was reflecting in a conversation I had with a mentor once. If you walk without a limp, no scars, no crooked nose, no bruises and that type of thing, or broken bones, you probably haven't earned your seat at the table yet.
No.
And so, like, I want to talk a bit more about helping people to fail forward and get familiar with that conversation, because
Right.
that is where we get sanctified. Where iron sharpens iron, and the hard edges get chipped away.
Right.
Because, like, we've got to, I think, for a society, we've got to help our people embrace the word failure,
Right.
because failure is it's only failure if you quit. But
Right.
really, if you reframe failure, failure is feedback.
Right.
If we look at stories like the Wright brothers in the early 1900s, if they quit after their first failure, or after their first attempt, we wouldn't have flight like we know it today.
Right.
Same with Thomas Edison with the light bulb. Would be the same conversation. We wouldn't have light like we have it today.
Right.
So learning to embrace this conversation, especially as entrepreneurs, I think is a valuable skill that we need to have, and that only happens through participation, and we mature in that process through participation. But
Right.
here's the other thing too, is I want to get your insights on this conversation, is there's a whole nother side to this, and a whole nother depth of learning to do it for others and not just for ourselves.
Mhm.
When we can do it in others, to serve in otherness, and great for the greater good, we
Right.
mature in that participation, and we focus on something more than just ourselves. We focus on the mission, right?
Right.
And that helps us to anchor us in to get going where we need to be. And so I
Right.
know there's a lot there just in that conversation. There's probably several questions, but
Yeah.
I'd love to just, get your insights that's bubbling to the surface in that conversation, and help our listeners to learn to embrace this conversation, especially around failure. Not necessarily just in survival mode, but going into that space where they can start to thrive.
Right. Well, a lot of people are scared of it because it's not familiar, right? So a lot of people that we don't do the statistics, but if you do it, a lot of people ain't failed. And when they see some people that have success and that are wealthy, they failed over 1,000 million times.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why people are scared to fail is not because it hurts. It hurts. You have the scar on your knee or the ridicule or the humiliation, but it's the story. They don't
Mm.
want they don't want people to keep talking about. There he is. That's the one. But if you get in front of it and say, "Hey, I just fell. Just look at this. I just got stitches. It hurts,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I'm gonna get ready for the next marathon." And life is a marathon,
Transparency.
not a sprint,
Yeah.
marathon. And how many legs do you got is the legs that you tell yourself, right? So if you keep running, every leg you inspire a different crowd, and every leg is a different level. And every leg is different terrain features and different cities and different people you might meet. So it's not over by just saying, you know what, I did. So many people that start off running marathons, they might start off the first five laps and they ahead everybody, but they lose by 5 laps because the next levels they underestimated the people that were on that level, or they was just scared to fail, or even scared to even turn it up a little bit more, right? So on them levels, you got to understand that failure, losing is a lesson, and when you
Mm.
lose, as you learn, so you, even if it doesn't teach you, it inspires somebody else to go past you. So me, I'm happy. I'm happy because of my losses and my failures because when my level stops, it's going to start my other bloodline to say, you know what, grandpa or granddaddy or dad stopped here or JR, but I'm going to take it further because he ran out of gas, but now it's my turn. And I'm going to run out of gas soon. But I told
Yeah.
myself the next 15 years, I'm going to give it all I got to show people that from where I come from, you can be all you can be. And there's no parameters on that.
Yeah, I love that. And that straight away, right, is you're focused on the mission. The mission matters most. It's not about the
Yeah.
transactional conversations. And I think that's what people trip up, right? They focus on the results, they focus on the vanity metrics and the things that really don't matter,
Right.
and then get deflated and disempowered and disheartened because they haven't succeeded in their viewpoint of what success looks like. But, I know the greats, what they do is they focus on the mission, the end game, like the 15, 20, 30-year goal. And they will go through hell. They'll go through every storm they need to
Yeah.
do, every battle they need to do. They'll go to war to see that accomplished, right? And that's that mindset that champions have.
Yeah.
See it all the time. So also this also establishes a culture thing as well, right? It creates a what I call above the line culture. In this space, you have mindset of ownership, accountability, and responsibility.
Mhm.
Below the line is blame, excuse, and denial.
Right.
So what do you do to help you get your mind right, to step into that space, to take ownership, to be accountable, and to take responsibility for your actions?
Have a routine, right? So hold yourself
Mm.
accountable with the routine. Like this watch is the best thing that happened to me, and sometimes the worst thing because if I don't hit my
Yeah, I get
goals,
it.
yeah, I put my goals on it. It allowed you to put your goals on here, and if you don't hit it,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm, excuse my French, I'm a shitbag because it's like you didn't walk 5,000 steps today or 10,000 steps. Yes,
Yeah,
so
come on, come on. Yeah, right?
right. Right. So have a routine and stick to your
Yeah.
routine. And don't expect the routine that you make in the first week is going to change your whole life. This has to be, and the key word, and I know it's cliche, is being consistent. If you know
Yes.
me and my fans know me, they know no matter what, you're going to get 2 or 3 pieces of content. And what people are not understanding is content. You don't go make it. Content is my life. So when I wake
Yeah.
up, your content is already created. If you put it on the
Right.
camera, it's already created. So go ahead and put it out there. Win, lose, or draw. You're going to inspire one or you're going to inspire all. It doesn't matter. Get your emotions out of it and just do it because when I'm doing it actually to heal myself because I've been through so much trauma before the
Yeah.
military, mother dying of AIDS, skid row, homeless, jail, gangbanging, all these things to make it out to get to where I'm at now. Yeah, I'm going to keep telling that story because it might not inspire you, but it might inspire the next generation.
Yeah, I love that. And Gary Vanderchuck talks about this. It's not about creating content for the sake of creating content. It's about documenting the journey.
Your life, yeah.
The story, right? Each day that we show up, this podcast right now, it's an episode, it's a page, it's a footnote in our stories. And something that I've come to realize on this journey that our stories are not for ours to keep. I think that's selfish. I think that's an injustice. If we've got a story of hope, of light, of joy, of helping people to go through that transformational space, then we have a responsibility, if you will, to be able to share the story because the story is no longer ours.
Yeah.
It's not for ours to keep. It's for us to share, and that's a blessing
Right.
and in a way to be able to be of service to inspire and empower others to do the same thing.
Right. definitely.
So I totally connect to what you're saying there about, creating content and sharing it to, just to get people moving forward, and
Good.
motivate them.
Yes.
And I love that your name's the Hood Motivator, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to come back to that because
Yeah.
people, they think that, us as leaders have to motivate people. But you can't motivate anybody to do anything. They have to motivate themselves, in my
Yeah.
experience. As leaders, we can lead by example and we can shine the floodlight on where to go. But people have to motivate themselves to go and take consistent action to get the
Right.
results. So how do you help people get motivated to get into the game?
Well, motivation, and I tell people all the time because people be coming out on motivation sucks, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I think motivation for me is just the first step.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen to my words. You're in a dark tunnel. You can't see me. Let's get you out of that tunnel first, because when you get out of that tunnel, there's still a journey after that. So let me help you get
Mm,
out of the tunnel. Then, if you inspire to keep going, you can. But if not, at least I got you out of that dark position. Right. So my
yeah,
job as a
that's
motivational
tough.
speaker and inspiring you is just to get you out, to get you going. I'm gonna put them. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go buy the batteries for you. I'm gonna put them in your back, and I'm gonna give you a little push. Now, along your journey, I'm gonna hear me in your ear, because kind of like a drill sergeant, like, hey, you better get up, you better doing it, because not one thing, and I'm not attacking nobody, but I feel like if I am the first niche of motivation, then I need to be motivated myself, right? So
Mm,
I can't, I won't even be able to listen to you if I don't see you doing the same thing you're trying to tell me to do. And that's where we
yeah,
losing
right.
the masses at, is because, and that's why it's taken me longer, because I am the product of my environment. I'm
Yeah,
telling you to do something, best believe I'm doing it because it saved my life. Because A, I left a infested, drug infested neighborhoods. Two, the war. So if I tell my soldiers to go do this, that, and the third, and I give them the wrong purpose, distance, and direction, I lose their life, right? Not only
yeah.
that, I gotta go write the letters to their moms and their wives and their families because I made the mistake to send them that way. That's what's going on right now in society,
That's
is
heavy.
people they
Yeah.
got the cameras out and they got the mics and they're talking and it sounds good, clickbait, but you're telling them to do things that you're not even doing. Matter of fact, you're telling them things that's not in your life. You rapping. I'm not a rapper. I'm not telling stories
Mhm.
about other people's life. I'm telling you about my life. And if you're inspired, come on, let's go. But if you're not, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, Dr. Joseph McClendon talks about this all the time. He calls it modeling, right? And, finding those people who are where you want to be and then go model them and do what they do
That's
in
it.
your own authentic way. It's not
Yes.
trying about imitating, it's about
Yeah.
doing your way. But,
Definitely.
success does leave clues when you
Right.
follow the right people. And that's
Definitely.
the key right there,
Yeah.
following the right people, the
People.
safe
Yeah.
people,
Yes.
because there are a lot of better words, let's call it out. There are a lot of charlatans out there, selling hot air and a lot of bullshit, really. And I think there's, people like you and I and our inner circle, we've got a responsibility to help guide the masses to a safe space, to the greener
Right.
pastures,
Right.
to the
And you know
promised
you
land.
And you're doing it right when you step in the room, Jeff, and we step in the
Yeah,
room, and we make the people feel uncomfortable, because you are portraying to be the person that they need to be, and we are the person that they're not portraying. So when we step in, it's like, why is he here? Because now
yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna hold your foot to the fire. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I tell people all the time, I say there's stages that people want me on and the stages that I'm not gonna get on, because at the end of the day, I'm the hood motivator. I am not supposed to be for everybody, but guess what? There's an $8 billion industry in this motivational speaking. I'm good for someone
yeah,
that.
yeah. It reminds me of the story, like, of the man walking along the beach, and he comes up along the beach, and I heard this from Bob Proctor when he was around. He comes along the beach, and on this beach, there's a million starfish washed up on the beach. And the man starts throwing that one back in, that one back in, that one back in. And the other man comes up along the beach and says, "What are you doing? You trying to save all of them?" He says, "No, but I just saved that one's life. I just saved that one's life. I just saved that one's life." And if we can just save one, two, 10 people's lives and get them to step up and live a life by design, live a purpose driven life, then what we do is all worth it.
Definitely.
And that's the game right there, yeah? It's not about doing it for the glory or the fame or even the money. Don't get me wrong, the money's nice. It's like oxygen. We need it to
Yeah.
survive,
Yeah.
but it's about the impact. It's about the purpose. It's about the legacy, and it's
Mhm.
about activating the greatness in others to step up. Yeah.
Right, definitely. And I feel that because when you're vibrating and on frequencies that are positive, everything is not going to be all peaches and creams. You might be
Mm,
with someone one day that's going to agree with you, and the same person the next week it's not. Because at the end of the day, when you're leveling up, you can't take everybody with you, and you got to stop being attached to that. God is using. I'm an instrument. So when I play my tune, if it's not for you, either take it or leave it. If we cannot vibe on that frequency, I love you, but I got to keep going because God is using
yeah,
me to
yeah.
someone. You know.
Yeah. And I want to wrap this conversation up because we're running out of time, but I think it's very valuable to go where you just went with regards to attachment, right? Because I realized just in this later season of my life, the last 2 to 3 years, that the moment that I stopped being attached to other people's opinions about me and their critiques and all that sort of thing, that's when my journey started to skyrocket, and just take off from there. And so what also happened is me not being attached in that space. I stopped trying to perform for others, and I just started showing up and being my authentic self.
Exactly.
So what is just your wisdom, just quickly, to help our listeners to get free of that attachment around, showing up for others, around that performance anxiety, all of that sort of stuff, and being focused on the thing that matters most, which essentially is the mission, the goal that they're working on.
Well, stop being. I know it's cliche again. Stop worrying about what people think, but also
Mm,
God, God has a light inside of you,
mm,
and so many people, creators and influencers, motivational speakers, life coaches, everybody that's in this realm, are afraid for their light to outshine the others. But if we work together, we could become a chandelier, right? And
yeah,
that's the
I
real
love
meaning.
that.
When you brought me on board, you wasn't afraid of my light. You wanted to use my life so we can work together. And at the end of
Yeah,
the day,
so we can try and
here
brighter together. Yeah,
right, and I love that because you allowed me to shine my light. And then another shit, if you get into a position where your light is too bright for others and they don't want to work with you no more, it's okay. Because maybe the level where you're going, you can't take them with you, or they can't take you. It doesn't matter. Just keep
yeah. It's
shining.
a season, a reason, or a lifetime, right?
Just
Yeah.
keep shining.
Yeah, I love that. I love that chandelier. Two bright lights shining together just gets
Yeah,
brighter. I love that
yeah,
analogy. And
surefire.
and and Dr. J, like, we're getting to meet up in LA very soon. I can't wait to meet you in person again,
Yes,
and shake your hand, give you a great big hug. And mate,
yes,
we're only just getting started. So,
yes,
for our listeners here on this episode, it's early November 2025. What's one piece of wisdom that you'd like to create some evergreen that's timeless? That when people listen to this episode 10 years down the track, what's that wisdom bomb you'd like to leave with our audience?
I mean, and again, just be dry fit. Be able to work in any weather, long as you're working and understanding who you are, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about getting, musty or being too sweaty. Just be dry fit. God has a moment for you in a special place and time. Just continue to do the work. Do not stop. Put the blinders on. Take advice from the people that where you're going. But at the end of the day, just keep pushing. Don't stop. And I know it's cliche, but don't stop. And always tell
Yeah.
yourself you're proud of you. I always tell myself, I'm proud of you, JR. Keep going.
Yeah, I say you might have more talent than me, but you'll never outwork me.
Yeah.
I'll show up every day of the week and I'll be consistent and I'll just keep plugging away.
Yep.
And what is it? The tortoise won the race, not the hare. But I
Yes.
also know once you get going, you get a bit of maturity and you get a bit of consistency and a few skills under your belt, then you start to get talent plus consistency and then you're unstoppable. Like,
Yes.
let's go.
Mhm. Yeah. Hopefully,
Right.
let's go. Yes, sir.
Well, Dr. J, thank you very much for jumping on and saying yes to being a host on the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show, mate.
Yes,
Really
sir. I
appreciate
appreciate you.
everything that
Thank
you
you so
bring to the
much.
table. And for our listeners, thank you. How about you go and leave a comment below with one takeaway that you have taken away from this episode, and give Dr. J a shout out. Now, reach out to him. I'm sure you'll find him on the Hood Motivators podcast, around on Apple and Spotify and YouTube and everywhere else, and just have a chat. Yeah, he is definitely a really good guy to connect with. And thank you very much for the Los Angeles Tribune for partnershiping with us for the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show. We really
Yeah.
appreciate you. And you'll be able to find this episode on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcast. Make sure you subscribe and follow for our future episodes. And let's stay in touch. Thank you very much for your time. Bye for now. Stay caffeinated, stay
Yeah.
legendary, and we'll see you
Thank you.
next time.
Thank you.